Good afternoon, ladies, gents, and Pikachus, and Islamophobes of the world. Yes, we are back talking about Islamophobia, in particular how Islamophobia is not a real thing, why Muslims of a specific type, i.e. British jihadi supporting Muslims, are using this against us, and why we should not let this continue. I am your host, Daily Corvid. Let's get started. Can we all just agree, as sensible, moral people, there is no such thing as Islamophobia? It's just nonsense. There is no such thing. Now, I'm not saying that people don't discriminate unfairly against people who might well be Muslims, but it is not a phobia. A phobia means an unreasonable fear of something. You know, like some people have a phobia of bananas, or a phobia of people playing the piano in another room. You know, there's tons of things that they have an unreasonable fear of, and it's a psychological issue which can usually be treated by a medical professional. That is a phobia. Someone who is Islamophobic, who doesn't like Islam, and therefore is reticent to spend time with a Muslim, I don't feel like that is an unreasonable fear that they have. For instance, if you are a young white woman living in London and you see a bunch of Pakistani Muslims walking your way looking towards you, that is not unreasonable if you are scared and you wish to be away from them. That's completely reasonable. No medical professional is going to be able to cure that fear that you have, because it is not a phobia. Further to that, should we be encouraging this view that any time someone has a reasonable fear of something, they should be attacked for it and then called names? We should make out like they are unreasonable in any way, even if it's off a fear. I know, as a society, we think, oh, stiff upper lip, we're not allowed to be scared of things. We're not allowed to admit that we're afraid of things which are scary. But we have to grab the bull by the horns here and say Islamophobia is not a phobia because it is not an unreasonable fear that cannot be cured by a medical professional. And more to the point, there is plenty of good reasons for people to be reticent to spend time with Muslims, or to accept some of the things, the ridiculous evil beliefs in this book here, the Quran of the Muslims. The root of the problem of Islam is this book. So in summary, it is not unreasonable to not like Islam when they believe these nonsense evil things in this book. That's not my opinion. That is objective fact. The proof of it is some of the most notable kind of famous celebrity Muslims in this country, i.e. the female ones, will agree with me when I say this. Even ones that a year ago were calling me a bigot for saying these things, ostracizing me and the work that I do on my channel, saying I am an Islamophobe. 12 months later, today, they are saying the same things I was saying a year ago, and they have far bigger audiences than me, and these are Muslims that are saying this, or hopefully an ex-Muslim now. For instance, Lubna was just another Muslim, born here, a British Muslim. She appeared on a show called The Apprentice, Alan Sugar's show where he was looking for an apprentice for his business, and that's how she came to prominence. Her whole career is based off of that appearance. But she would not have been able to appear on that show had she been following Sharia. Had she been behaving in the way that a Muslim should behave, there is no way she would have been on that show. And she wouldn't have had the career that she has now. And she is one of the people I'm talking about who a year ago was calling me a bigot, an Islamophobe, having a go at me and the work that I did on my channel, speaking openly against the evils of Islam. Now she 100% agrees with me, and her entire channel is dominated by videos casting light on the evils of Islam. But she has to be very careful because her family are Islamic, and she even admits at least one of her families is a supporter of the jihad, an Islamist, as the media would like to paint them. You know, someone I would say is a pro-terrorism, dangerous person that we shouldn't have in this country. or at least the CIA equivalent that we have here, whoever it is, the MI6 or whatever, should be keeping tabs on that person and everyone that they speak to. Because national security, my health and safety, your health and safety, the general security of our nation is much more important than that person's right to their religion when the religion is Islam. And the fact is, even though we're not really supposed to say it, and a lot of people are afraid of the criticism they're going to get for having said this true thing, all religions are not equal. This religion, Islam, is not equal to my religion, Christianity, and the proof is all over the world throughout history. You will not find a Christian extremist terrorist anywhere. Guaranteed you've never had a problem with a Christian terrorist in your life, and you will never. However, who among you can say your life has not been directly affected in a negative way by a Islamic extremist terrorist following the commands of Allah in this book at least once? I could name you a dozen examples. September, the 9/11 attacks. That was the first big one for me. Then the Manchester bombing. Then the Foley guy having his head cut off. Then the, what's her name? Shamima Begum, traitor to Afghanistan, coming back here and saying she was quite happy to see the heads of Westerners cut off in a bucket full of blood. Then we had Basra in the late 90s. Then we had the... what was the other one? Well, there's been plenty anyway. Like, I can't remember them all off the top of my head because there has been so many. Every single one of these has been attributable, though they deny it in their shameful hypocrisy and lies. Muslims deny these things are driven by this book, and it's an absolute lie. If you need proof, I do a daily video series called Without Lies, Islam Dies, where we dissect this thing verse by verse. And even during that series, I've been roundly attacked. I've been hit up in the street plenty of times, attacked, a guy tried to kill me outside my house. I've had my computer hacked twice by a guy sitting outside in a van. Why don't these things appear anywhere else or with anyone else apart from Muslims? Why do they only seem to affect Jews or British people, white people? Just the other day, Carol Hunt and her 2 daughters shot dead with crossbows. Before that, a guy was found in a suitcase just outside of Leeds. There are too many examples to list of Islam terrorism in this country and in other countries attributed back to people who were based here. It's Islam. Yet it's an unreasonable phobia if you are to mention these things. Why are we encouraging these people who do these things based on this book? Why are we allowing them to get away with doing these things and then lying about it, blaming it on everyone else, blaming the fear on the person who is fearing them? Why are we letting them get away with the hypocrisy and the deceit in our country when it makes our country worse? It's completely disrespectful to our culture. It's completely toxic and poisonous to our lives and the future of our children in this country, which is ours. It has to stop. So, where does it start? Well, it starts with you. The next time someone says, oh yeah, Islam's a religion of peace, you can say to them, no, there's no factual basis to say that Islam is a religion of peace. And you can cite this book. You can say, if you want to hear someone reading you it verse by verse and explaining to you what it means, point them towards my channel, the series Without Lies, Islam Dies. If they need further evidence, point them towards any news website and just type in Islam terror in Britain and you will get a massive list of things. And the real proof is this. Think back to any time in your life when you've had interactions with Muslims that you didn't know, just randomly when you were travelling around the country or at work or anywhere really. How many of those experiences are wholly 100% positive? and I'm just taking a wild guess here, but it's going to be close to 0%, if not 0%. Now think how many of them didn't end well or had a negative impact on you. And it will be close to 100%. This is not an accident. This is not just some quirk of fate. The reason is because the people of Islam, the Muslims, who are driven by the commands of their God Allah out of this book, are at war with us. And the only reason that people don't recognize this is because they constantly lie about it and they deceive us so that they can stab us in the back. And the entire goal that they have is the jihad. The reason they lie is because it's in their book, The Reliance of the Traveller, with their physical penal code, their laws that they are doing now and have been doing. And Rule 8 is permissible lying. What is permissible lying? Well, let me tell you. Permissible lying is what they call it when they tell you an outright blatant lie that is not true. It is a lie. But in their penal code, their rules that they go by now today, it is a permissible lie. That means it is one that they will tell you is true, and they are morally rewarded within the religion of Islam for lying to you and telling you that it is true and making you believe that it is true, i.e. Islamophobia, i.e. the religion is peaceful, i.e. Muhammad was not a caravan robbing paedophile who was hated by virtually everybody that he met, i.e. they don't want to take over our country and kill Jews, Americans and British people, specifically white ones, and that they are diverse in their views and accept other cultures and religions. These are all permissible lies that they will constantly tell us, and they will attack us for being Islamophobic, persecuting them if we have any questions or doubts, because that is what Allah commands them to do. So, the conclusion is this. There is one solution to this, and that solution is a truthful approach. Do not let these guys lie to you or coerce you by calling you names like Islamophobia. Openly criticize them fairly, like we should have been doing this whole time, and when the media and the politicians of this world try and swindle you for their own good to put money in their pockets, because these guys pay well for dhimmi compliance. That's what they call us when we are willing slaves of theirs, dhimmi. Another permissible lie is that dhimmis don't exist. We let this happen by allowing these lies to pass us by. So the solution is to stop doing that, and regardless of the risks of being called nasty names or having the odd Facebook post disappear, is to directly criticize this truthfully and fairly until every single person in this country understands and accepts this is an evil book, the religion is not peaceful, and their goal in coming here and living here and having children that live here and everything that they do to do with Islam is to remove our culture and control this country in order that it can be Islamic in future. That is the jihad. And until we all accept this and take responsibility for speaking against this thing and criticizing it openly, we can never get rid of this problem. And trust me when I say, they have no intention of moderating. They have no intention of updating or changing in any way to fit our ideals, because they think our ideals are evil. Freedom of speech, evil. Rights for women, evil. Diverse communities, evil. Religious freedom, evil. Christianity, Judaism, atheism, Buddhism, agnosticism, evil, 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 according to Allah. And just in case you didn't know, for Muslims, their laws are applied per person. So that means they can't run away to another country and expect that they will not be punished by Islam. That includes Britain. So it comes down to this. How much respect and love do you have for your own culture? How much respect and love do you have for your law code? How much respect and love do you have for the freedoms you have enjoyed up until now and will continue to enjoy? Freedom to speak, freedom to have your own religion, freedom to dress and do what you want and say what you like within the bounds of our laws. freedom to walk down the street without the threat of violence, freedom to not have to worry about your children being abducted and used as sex slaves, or have their heads cut off for disagreeing with the nonsense in this book. Freedom to say Mohammed was a caravan-robbing, perverted paedophile, an evil slave-driving murderer who should never be an ideal or a moral guide for any normal, good person on this earth. If you like the fact that you can do those things without the threat of violence, then you need to pick up your voice the next time it's in a conversation and openly say, never trust Islam, never accept Islam, it is not Islamophobia, it is reasonable common sense and morally good thinking to say our culture is superior to this. Principally because it does not discriminate, principally because it does give you free speech, principally because it considers that you are an important human being, a unique being who is sovereign over their own lives, and the only laws that you need to ever accept while you live in Britain is British law. You don't need to accept this, you don't need to bow to this, and if anyone tries to coerce you into it through the threat of violence or persecuting you by calling you unreasonable, an Islamophobe, then they are a criminal. They are a morally corrupt criminal and an evil person that you should need no encouragement to speak against. And if we can all have the courage to stick up for our own cultural values and our laws and unite against this evil nonsense like we have done in the past until recently, then I can guarantee you within a decade these guys will ship out to somewhere that is easier targets than us. And we can remain a peaceful, free culture with no threat of violence and start getting back to solving our own problems, rather than adding to them by solving the problems of these guys, the problem which is our freedom. That's the one they're trying to solve. We should be hanging on to that freedom for dear life, because trust me when I say democracy doesn't work on autopilot. It requires people to use their minds and think and have courage and use their heart to guide them. So don't let these guys swindle you. Don't let politicians or corrupt news and media reporters swindle you. Use your head, use your heart, know what is right is not this, and you will do fine. So I hope I've made my point. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed that and you learned something. God bless you all, and I'll see you lovely people in the next one. Bye now. Oh, and I almost forgot to say, good on you, Lubna, for standing up for yourself and standing up for British cultural values, which are just as much yours as mine. So big love to you, kudos, and yeah, hopefully that will continue. Anyway, that's all for now. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.